Hello YouTube, Aaron here, or Claude Mods, which is my online name, with a showcase of my new tool that I'm currently building. Now, I just downloaded the tool in the background to make things quicker, and also show that I am getting it from my website and using the version that I supply. With this tool, the GUI cloning side of it completely works fine, but the install script that I've built to install from a command prompt, when you launch the ISO, you would push Shift and F10, needs to be tested. So the script itself is within some of the files that I supply. But essentially, this basically clones your Windows 10/11 system into an installable ISO. Now, there is obviously a lot of tools that will create .images of your system that you can clone, and I do believe there is some BTRFS tools, because someone did suggest to use something like BTRFS on Windows before. The problem is with .images, unless they're BTRFS, they are not compressed, so therefore you're not really getting the same sort of setup you would be getting with this tool. And from my understanding, there's no other tools like this on the internet. This is completely free, although I might make some future version paid. I'm not too sure yet how that's going to work. I do everything for fun. I would like to earn some sort of money out of this. I do specialize in system cloning tools as a whole, so not just for Windows now, but for Linux is where I first started. I then moved on to Chrome OS, and then I moved on to containers. I'll get more to that in a minute, briefly talking about what I do as a whole. But yeah, so this essentially clones your system into a .wim and then puts this in an ISO structure before creating an ISO. The tools that you would need to use the cloning mechanism are Hyper-V, which you get from Windows Features, and also you will need Windows ADK, which you can get open in PowerShell with administration rights, and then just simply copy and paste in this command. So yes, as a whole, I actually do a lot of system cloning towards most operating systems, apart from Android, of course. And I provide system cloning tools for these operating systems on my GitHub. So, of course, in my last video, I was showcasing my own system that I build on Linux using pretty much the same scripts as what I do for my ISO creating tool for Arch. So this here was like was my first ever script I ever built over many years. I've made it better, 5 years in fact, and there's a tutorial on how to use the latest version at the bottom here on my YouTube. But this essentially clones your full system of Arch into a bootable ISO you can install at a later date. I also used to provide install scripts. I still do, but I basically provide calamaris now and tutorials on how to set that up. Yeah, I'm using a virtual machine in the background and uploading a test ISO with the install script just to test that. The script itself is built from commands that I had tried and worked. So it's just a matter of testing that script, making sure that everything works the way that it should. And then I will get a new video and update everything on my GitHub and my website. It should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's just a matter of uploading the ISO that I built with it inside and also downloading it and then testing the script. So yeah, I started on the Linux cloning side of things, and then I moved on to Chrome OS. And basically, what you essentially do would boot like Arch Linux, and then simply open this tool, and it will clone your Chrome OS installation. A lot of people are probably thinking, is this legal? As long as you're not distributing the files of the operating system, if it's copyrighted, then therefore you're not breaking that copyright notice. I'm not providing Windows 11 or 10 or 11 should I say. I'm only simply providing a tool that will allow you to make your own clones of this system. I do not advise distributing Windows. I do not advise putting this on a separate machine without a product key. what you do is up to you. It's in your own hands. I'm simply showing this for tutorial basis, and also, you know, to have fun. If you at a later date need to use this tool to clone your system, then so be it. That's what it's for. I'm not here to distribute Windows as a whole. I wouldn't distribute Chrome OS. Of course, I can distribute Linux because it's open source. Chrome OS is a grey area because they are actually using a Linux kernel, so I don't know how that would be closed source, but this video is not about that, and I don't want to get into some sort of an argument with people on the internet over it. So after Chrome OS, I actually moved on to creating cloned systems into Inca system containers. For those that don't know, this is on Linux, and basically you can essentially launch the system from another system, and you can even get a GUI from it. So I actually learned how to get KDE Plasma to launch, and well, that took me many months as well. Also, there is a Docker container side, which would just be for your applications. So you can boot the system and then just boot applications from the Docker side, or you can just boot the system and have the full desktop on the Inca side, as well as launching applications. So yeah, that's pretty cool to make. But yeah, basically showcasing my Windows ISO creating tool. I downloaded it in the background. I've also obviously gone to the GitHub page many a times now. I thought I'd also show my website, since I'm going to have to download it anyway. It makes sense. Showing the website page. I just downloaded the tool for the second time, because this is the second time I've made this video, and I just want to go through the basics of how this works. So come here. I've got two folders again. I don't know why. I'm more than likely going to re-upload this. Compressing these files here instead of compressing a folder. So we launched the application itself. Obviously, after installing the dependencies that I've showed, e.g. Hyper-V and Windows ADK, we're going to need a separate drive to back up the VHDX. This is simply just for the VHDX. Depending on your system size, if it's 60 GB, you're going to need 60 GB. This file will not be compressed. The only file that's compressed in this tool during this cloning mechanism is the .wim image. Now this VDX file basically gets mounted, and then the files itself are used to make the .wim image. I'm not going to be doing that in this video. I just thought I'd give a rundown of how this basically works. It does work. I've done many tests over 3 days on this tool around building it and the commands. Just last night I made a backup with the GUI version of the commands. So yeah, I'm glad to say that it does work. It's just the install script that needs testing now. So you would pick a drive, and then you would start the process. And the VHDX will take anything from 5 to 15 minutes. Not long at all. This part of the process is pretty quick. Once it's mounted and it's creating a .wim image, this is where it could take a few hours depending on your system. I've been using a virtual machine. It's taking about 3 hours to compress it all. Just last night, actually, sorry, it was about 1:30 I started using the GUI to my cloning tool in a virtual machine, and I believe I got to sleep about 4 o'clock in the morning. So the maths there is about 3 hours, around 3.5 to 3.5 hours. Now, I'm of course using a virtual machine. Windows doesn't really like to well in virtual machines, depending on what you throw at it. So I'm throwing 5 processors and 8 GBs worth of RAM. Of course, this is not efficient for Windows. I do suggest throwing at least 24 GB above worth of RAM at Windows. I myself use 25 GB. I can actually show. So my separate machine obviously hasn't got these specs, but I'm using an AMD Ryzen 7 2700X 8-core 16 threads processor that runs at 3.2 gigahertz. I've got 24 GBs worth of RAM. My graphics card is old, I know, and also I have much storage. I have 3 different storage devices on it. So the main storage is an NVMe 250 GB. My games are stored on a 500 GB disk drive, and I also have a 100 gigabyte SSD. My separate setup, as most people would know, is a Lenovo Legion Go S, which has 500, I think it's 500 GB NVMe inside. I also have a SD card that's got, I believe, 250 GB. This kind of setup, if I was running Windows, would be kind of good if it wasn't virtually. So because it's virtually, it's taking me a bit of time to do the process. So yes, here is the files. Of course, I've provided a compiled.exe because I don't really want to be providing the commands or the script itself as open source for cloning. I don't want to provide the cloning tool as open source. I'm not too sure if you can get the code from this .exe, but from my understanding, it's been compiled when I've done some research into this. It is what it is. If my tool gets forked, then so be it. But yeah, I've strictly done that to try and basically keep away people that will try and fork my tool, because this just took me 3.5 days of basically spending 12 hours of time at it, if not more. This is the ISO setup. So the ISO itself would normally look like this, and the WIM file actually gets put in here, and also, like I said, there is an install.cmd where are we? File in here. So if we just scroll down, I'm pretty sure we can find it. Try to do this as fast as I can, but there should be a yeah. So it's actually at the top. That would normally be like at the bottom, I believe. Oh no, so it's basically put it in the correct order now. But install.cmd is open source at the moment. It's not hard to do this at all. I'll be honest with you, the whole process of cloning the system and everything else from commands is not hard at all. You could probably learn how to do it within a couple of hours if you had the right knowledge. I'm not saying that I'm smarter than anybody else. I actually do this all from home, and I just basically do what anyone else would do, trial and error. So this essentially basically asks you for a hard drive. It will show you the hard drives, because I can actually launch this script, I believe, right now. So this is how it looks, and it will show you your hard drives. So you would select a hard drive, it would then format it into NTFS, create the boot file partition. It would then create the system partition, and it will then process the .wim to the system partition, and also it will then set up the boot device correctly. And then once you decide to reboot, the system will boot perfectly into this system. From the commands, like I said, it works perfectly fine. As a script, I do not know yet. I'm still testing. As you can see, the script is here. You can check this out yourself. You can also use ChatGPT on how to. Well, I use DeepSeek, but if you want to use ChatGPT or DeepSeek, you can basically get these commands. So you ask it how to set up Windows from a command prompt within a booted ISO, and it will tell you that you need to use this part to then select the disk, clean the disk, and then it will tell you to create the various different partitions. And the last command that's used is bcd boot something. I can get the command up, but I'm probably just going to leave it there. The bcd boot Windows layout Windows /s EFI /wf UEFI. So since this script is simply for UEFI, I'm sorry, but I don't work in the past. I work to move forward. This is currently the new norm, so I've left it at UFVI. I may change this script in the future to support legacy devices, MSR, is it MVR, sorry. But for the meantime, this is UFVI. I pretty much used to do the same on Linux, but yeah, we're not going to go too much into what I used to do on Linux today. So yes, it creates the WIM file in the sources directory here, and then we use Windows ADK to basically create an ISO from this folder, and it will work perfectly fine once you put it on a USB or boot it in a virtual machine. Also failed to mention that this tool here is the tool that is used to make the .wim image. So yeah, this is kind of GPL v2, I believe, which is basically means that it can be redistributed. LGPL, which basically essentially means that it's a general public license, which means that I can redistribute it, I can fork it, I can edit it, I can do what I want with this tool here. I'm simply only providing it to use during the whole process of cloning. So this is used during the process of cloning with my tool. There is a command prompt that opens in the background that works with the first two commands. The third command, which is creating a .wim, actually doesn't process into this command prompt, but this is pretty much like a how can it's an output log. You know, if you've got any errors or anything, it pretty much can be used for certain commands during the process. I will be making this GUI tool better, so it has better outputs for debugging. That's the word that I was looking for. For debugging reasons, I will make this tool better. I might even have a button here to open this here and show you the outputs of what's actually going on. During the process of creating a WIM, the tool stops at a status of 70, and it's still doing its thing in the background. You can come to sources in here and basically check the install.wim file. You can see that it's getting bigger. That's what I was doing last night, just to make sure that the process is actually doing its job. You'll see it go from anything from 500 megabytes to what I have on here, which is a 12 GB ISO, I believe. So I installed Windows again and then just done the whole thing again, and the finishing product ISO of a basic setup system with just simply Opera GX was 12.4 GB. So your system, if it's just a basic Windows install with Opera GX, will just be 12.4 GB. Now the system, I believe, was only around 25 GB after install, though sometimes, although that might be wrong, the system might have been 30 GB, 35 GB. But the system that I've just cloned last night, after doing loads of tests, I don't know what files was still on the system after, was 35 GB, and I've just got a ISO that is I really haven't got everything all set up at the moment to be telling the information, so it might take me a minute to get things that I would need. So from a 35 GB system compressed down into a bootable ISO, you're looking at 16 GB. That's the difference once compressed. There really isn't anything else that I can say in this video other than the fact that, you know, well, you don't know, but I've obviously expressed that the tool does work. I will be making a tutorial video once I have tested the install script and it works perfectly fine. I will then be uploading new information on the GitHub and my website. The install video, the tutorial video itself is going to probably be about 3 hours, if not longer. And I'm going to try and make that whole video itself easy for others to understand. You know, there's not really much to it. You're using the GUI. Most of my scripts on Linux used to be well, still kind of are. The norm on my Linux scripts is to use. Sorry. The norm on Linux for me with my cloning tools is to use scripts and not a GUI. I have built a GUI in the past on Linux for cloning Linux, and this is the tool. Oh no, this is an app image since I make a lot of different tools. This is the app image. There is a GUI version of the tool, but the problem I have there is like building on Linux a GUI cloning tool, everything just started to mess about. So I actually just decided to stop doing the ISO creating tool GUI app. So this is the app. I was using a Hyperlink at the time, and there is some problems with running it on KDE, although it does work. It took me many hours to build it, and as you can see, it's compiled. There is an app image of the script that I make, which is pretty old. I make loads of different app images and things. There is a USB creating tool, which works perfectly fine. And there's also an installer that I've made that works perfectly fine. After many tests, this installer, there's even a tutorial on how to use it. It's on the Arch Linux user repository. So there has been many things that I've made in the past that have either gone good or they've gone bad. Now, with this, for some reason, the GUI creating side of things is just working perfectly fine. I actually even had a GUI for the installer, which is not going to work in the ISO simply because you can't use PowerShell. So, yeah. That is it for today. I really don't know what else to say. I've tried to explain everything I can within this tutorial and let people know what is actually going on. I am uploading an ISO. It's going to take 36 minutes in the background. I am creating an ISO in the background. I don't know if you can see that. If I come here. Oh no, I am uploading an ISO. If I just make this big, I don't really need to do this, but I might as well. So I'm uploading an ISO in the background right now. It's going to take 36 minutes. You really can't see that anyway. But once that's been uploaded, I can then proceed to download this ISO and then boot it in a virtual machine with a clean drive. I will then use the install script, and then if it works perfectly fine, I will do everything else that I said in this video. Please wait on me. Trial and error. I'm not best at things. I'm not a professional. I'm working on it. This is all done from home. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I'm going to play my favourite song, and then that is it.
Hey, give me that drop there.
that this piece of information is false, as long as them files that are in this main folder here are in that main folder, it's all good. You don't need any of this. This folder here could be anywhere on the system and it will work. So I need to kind of update the GUI. But that is it for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. It's a vibe for me, Aaron or Claude Mods.